what is your standard? Like, do you think, like, I don't want you to list a whole little standard. And I think that you should uphold a standard that you have in your head. But do you think that sometimes our standard is a little unrealistic? Like, and when I say unrealistic, when I think about my standard, I list all the things I have and I want out of a man. Are there enough men who are available to fulfill those that list? Is it a reachable list? And that's my question. And that's being realistic. Realistically speaking, do you think you're going to find a man to reach this standard? And I want to hear from you guys with that answer.
I say 1000% go bananas with your standards, go bananas, like be delusional with it, like go all out. Like, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, at the end of the day, we attract what we are. And so if we keep attracting these individuals that were like, well, they lack this and they lack that, you know, it really serves as a mirror for, you know, different qualities or different behaviors in ourselves that maybe we're lacking or maybe that we're in abundance of. And so, you know, for me, I'm all about aligning myself with the highest and greatest. And if it seems too attainable, it's not big enough for me. So it's like I'm going for the home run. So yes, I would say that it is definitely attainable for your partner to be your partner all in and reach, you know, a lot of different standards and expectations that you have. I do think, on the other hand, it is unrealistic to put, you know, all of, just to have expectations in general is like kind of like a letdown because you don't have control over anybody else except for yourself. So to have expectations of someone else, I feel like you're bound to be let down. But I do think that there are standards that you can set for yourself. And if someone, like, you know, I read this thing recently where it was like, you know, people love you based on how they love. And it's up to you to determine whether or not that love is in alignment with how you want to be loved. And I feel like too many times, like women and men, they try to like shape and mold people to love them how they want to be loved. But it's like, that's not them. So just, you know, love yourself and align yourself with what you want and what you want to attract. And those individuals will co-create in your reality. So too many times, you know, our thoughts and our emotions and our actions, they're not aligned, and we want this and we want that, but we're thinking the very opposite, or our feelings are the very opposite, and we wonder why we keep attracting the very opposite. And so, you know, I think it really starts with aligning yourself with who you want to be. And when you truly step into that individual, there will be no one else that can, you know, exist in your reality that isn't on that level, period.
I agree. And definitely, you know, I think, to be honest, I think women, our standards could be a lot higher, to be honest. I think we tend to negotiate our standards because we're afraid that someone may think that they're too unrealistic, or how dare we have a standard of something like this, you know, because they're looking at us like, I don't meet that. So how dare you have a standard where I am automatically eradicated from being able to have access to you? And so when it comes to that, you should definitely have a standard that is very high, simply because there will be someone to meet your standard, as well as if you have a low standard, there will be someone to meet that low standard as well. And so, but on the other hand of that, and similar to what Dilla was saying, you cannot have expectations that don't apply to you. So if you are asking for someone to be of a certain character or a certain level of integrity, you also have to deploy that within yourself so that you and that person, when you meet, it's a match, versus you force them to be a certain way and they're like, well, you know, you're not this way, but no, you have to be this way because it's what I want. It's a meeting of two minds, you know, where you're both in the same space and both interacting in a way that is complementary to you and to whatever your goal is for that relationship to manifest into something more.
Okay, deploy. I'm here for it. Lauren always has like the SAT words. Please, please.
Yes. Anybody else want to give an opinion on that?
I do. So something, sorry, Della, that you said, this is one of the things I say all the time, is when you have expectations, you expect to fail. Because that's exactly right. When you go into relationships with a whole list of expectations, there will be failure. And something, Lauren, that you said earlier about do women really know what they want? So you talked about you had very specific things that you wanted. And I feel that a lot of the conversations that I have with single women, they're like, well, I don't know if I want this and I don't want this. And it's a little wishy-washy back and forth. Like, I don't know if yeah, well, I'll do this. And then that's exactly what happens. Their preferences become something that's what they really don't want. So I think being intentional, and that's why they say being intentional with dating is really important. It's because you need to know what you want and believe what you want. And Della, I don't know how old you are, but definitely you have a mindset that is great. You have a mentality that is going to be really good for you as you get older and your life blooms and you have different experiences. So something that I also see, though, is what you bring to the table. I know this comes up a lot. What you bring to the table, is it matching what you're expecting? And I hear this a lot, and this is kind of more of a woman's perspective in Atlanta, and I don't know if this is the perspective of the women on this panel, but saying you want your man to pay for everything, right? And my question about that is, if something were to happen, because I always think about like the bigger picture. If something were to happen with my relationship and with my man, am I able to still hold down the fort, right? Like, you want to have this lavish lifestyle, but can't afford it if something were to happen. And I think the mentality that a lot of people have in Atlanta is very superficial. Like, I just want to be seen. I want to pull up and I want to do this, but in reality, you can't pay for the premium gas right now that's happening and the gas hike, and you online posting about $5. So that's just something that I would just have to say, like, when it comes to what I'm looking for in my preferences, is just very simple. Like, do we align? Is the direction our lives going, is it the same? Like, are my major breaks, are there any major breaks? Because one of them is I want to have children or have that opportunity to try to have children. As it was touched on with a lot of fertility issues, you never know. High risk area. I'm in the high risk age, even though I'm still young. I'm still in the high risk age for having kids. So my expectations are you living within your means? Because that's what I find a lot in Atlanta, is that they're not living in their means. They have this business and this business, and I'm in cryptocurrency, and I got this and this and that. And it's like, no, you don't. You really don't. And you find out down the road a few months later, like, no, you don't. So that's a major thing for me. Like, your financial stability. Are you going to be able to lead me? I have a big personality, and I can take the back seat for the right man. But I need to be led. There has to be that type of confidence and that type of perseverance and that type of support, like, with my man. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversations about that too later, about the dynamics of relationships. But yeah, no, my standards are not high. They're realistic for where I am in my life and what I need.